We are talking today, put my glasses on, about connecting with your family during the holidays. The holidays are a busy season. We get so incredibly busy that there's a lot of room for mistakes. There's a lot of room for what I hear clients even say on a regular basis is we gave up our date night because there's just too many things going on. There's school activities for our kids, there's band concerts, sporting events. And so, just for the holiday season, we're not going to do our date night. And for our holiday season, we're going to skip the family night because there's so many demands on our time. And that's basically like saying that school is more, your kid's school is more important than your romantic relationship and the connection you have with your spouse, or work parties and church parties and all of that is takes precedent over your marital relationship. And I know none of you would ever actually sit still and say, my work party is way more important than this relationship, so I expect you to be there. We'd never do that. But we would say, hey, let's skip our date night. Let's not have some of these connections that we've built over the year because we have too many work parties and school parties and things to go to. So we're saying the same thing. And I want to challenge you to realize that you do have 168 hours in a week. And if you schedule properly, if you manage properly, you can really achieve success in your marriage and your family. And then in the leftover time, you can be successful with your work and your faith and with the school activities that are going on. You can just maybe be more wise in what you say yes to and no to. And I've got 3 ideas for you today that I'm going to give you with some worksheet activities, okay? And we're going to talk about how to stay connected to your family during a busy holiday season. And we all want to do that. These 3 ideas will make it possible for you to do that. So here we go. Number 1, take a moment, and it's going to be on the screen here behind me. Take a moment and with your spouse, just you and your spouse, not your kids on this one, just you and your spouse, define the holiday purpose. Okay? What is the holiday purpose? Now, during this holiday, I'm going to invite you to plan out 2023. And in 2023, you're going to pick the different holidays that are important to you. Like there's Valentine's Day, which I hope is important to all of you. Not just for the cards and that, because I think that's, you don't have to, but for the romance, but I mean, not the point. These holidays during the next year each have a purpose. And so I'm going to ask you to define the purpose. But for right now, define the holiday purpose with your spouse. What is the Christmas holiday about? What's our purpose for the Christmas holiday? None of you will say our purpose is to be so busy that we're fatigued, we're running behind, frustrated, and we basically can't wait for January to get this season over with. None of you will say that's the purpose, right? But how many seasons, how many holiday seasons, how many Christmas months, like from about the 10th of December to the 1st of January, are just frantic to the point where you can't wait for it to be over so you can rest in January, right? So this year is going to be different. Define the holiday purpose. What is it really? Okay? And then after you've defined that, I want you to take a second and write down, maybe do this separate and then bring your list together, or just sit together and brainstorm. But you want to have 3 categories of rituals. Now, I use the word rituals loosely. Rituals are things that maybe they're anchors that you can count on to keep you grounded. They're anchors to keep you and your family connected, you and your kids. They're anchors that you can maybe do as habitually every year or every second year. We've got a daughter that she's got a 3-year rotation, in-laws, us, and then just her and her spouse. In-laws, us, and her and her spouse. And so once we understand the rituals for her little family, we can build our time with them. And so we want to create rituals for our family and then let the rest of the world build time around it. Instead of the world throws all of their junk at us and then we try to fit our rituals in around the world. We want to do it the other way. So what are the yearly Christmas rituals with your family? We'll just go Christmas and New Year's because they're so close together. We generally should plan them basically together. Okay. So what is your yearly mandatories? What do you want to do? Like, I think some families do Christmas Eve gift opening, and some families, we've always done our one gift in the Christmas Eve, and then a whole bunch of everything else on Christmas morning. And we have an extended family thing that we do for a couple of hours Christmas Eve, and then our own personal stuff, and then the next morning open all the gifts. So every year there's a certain family ritual for Christmas and New Year's. Okay. What are your family rituals? So on the worksheet, it'll say three categories of rituals: yearly rituals with your own little family. Okay, so you want to talk about what is it that you will do to serve your kids. You and your spouse will serve your kids during the Christmas holiday. Okay, now it gets tricky in divorce situations where there's two biological parents with two other biological parents, and the the new families that are created there. So I challenge you to be wise in your yearly family rituals, where you're taking a look at like you have a blended family here that has to come first now. And I know you got kids that are going back and forth, and they've got a blended family that needs to come first. And then second would be what you do with the shared time. Okay, so it gets tricky, but there's more to schedule, which means that yearly family ritual stuff will take more time of the 168 hours, which means you have to give up other things. So number two on your list that you're going to do on the categories of rituals, it's what do you do to connect with extended family? These are your in-laws, your parents, grandparents. What's important to you? Do you have an elderly grandparent that needs you to go visit them because they're alone for Christmas, and you do that yearly, and so that's something that's important to you and your family? Whatever it is, what do you do to connect with them? But they come second, and I know that that feels off to some of you, but your personal family will always come first. You'll always survive more of the bumps of the year, more of the strife and the trials that you go through as a family. You'll survive better if you put your family first all the time. So what do you do to connect with extended family? What are the rituals that you want to do every year? And it might be that you rotate every other year with different in-laws. It might be that you rotate certain rituals, but be clear on what year you do what, okay? And what are you doing this year? And then the third for this year, what do you and your spouse enjoy? What do you enjoy together in your romantic relationship? Okay? What do you enjoy together in your romantic relationship? Does that make sense? So staying connected to your own family during the holiday season really does require you to be intentional about it. Another bullet point that I want to put up there right now on this worksheet is now that you've got these rituals and now that you've got your purpose defined, I'd like you and your spouse to take just a moment, okay? Think back to the last 2 years, just the last 2 years. Don't go back 10 years, don't go back 20 years. And I don't want you to pick at each other. I want you together on the same team to just decide what did not work for the last 2 years. What are some bumps that you feel like you don't want to repeat? And I want you both to write down your bumps, both of you to write down the things that didn't work. And I want you to write them down neutral. Don't say when you did this at work, when you put your work party ahead of family, that's just going to cause a fight. Putting work parties in front of family activities. And there's no blame in that. It's just a bump in the road that you felt, and it's neutral, and you're going to put it there, and both of you are going to honor each other's list and make one list out of the two. So what are some things that didn't work the last 2 years? And what you're going to do is set up your schedule to avoid the problems that you've had the last 2 years. It'll be wonderful. You guys will be on the same page, and I guarantee you it's going to work, okay? So right now, in this commitment to stay connected to your own personal family, you've defined your holiday purpose for 2022. You've got your 3 categories of rituals that you're going to map out. You got the one with your own family. You've got the one with your connections with your extended family, and then what you and your spouse will do to enjoy a romantic relationship. And by the way, just on that one, I want to labor, do not skip date night. Get your 5 hour date in, get your 2 2 hour dates in, do an extra date. Maybe your ritual as a couple is to do one little tiny overnighter together during the Christmas holiday and skip one extended party that you've been invited to. Instead of going to that, do an evening and an overnighter together. I'm just making stuff up to give you permission to think outside of the box, because every holiday season should bring you together in romantic connection, in intimate connection. Every holiday season has the potential to be a time to connect, a ritual to bond, a ritual to become closer. And so over the years, you look forward to them. They're not like, oh my gosh, we go into debt, we're so busy, we basically wish that we could just jump over the holiday season and not even have it, not endure it. And so that's my goal, is to help you enjoy it. Does it make sense? So now here are the three really clear principles or rules. They're probably not as much principles as they are rules to organizing your holiday season. Okay, you'll regain a little bit more control over your time, over your commitments. You'll regain a little bit more control over what the romance is going to look like for your marriage and what the family time is going to look like if you first use a shared calendar. Like, find some way that you can schedule things together, and you should do this throughout the year, but especially in these times where you're working together. So we're just going to labor over from the 1st of December to the 3rd of January. Have a shared calendar that you watch closely, like both of you are looking at, to make sure that it's being tracked well. And on that shared calendar, I want you to put clear blocks of time that are considered mandatory toward your purpose. So you have a holiday purpose, and there's these clear blocks of time. Okay, so what are the mandatories? What are these things that are like no matter what, you're going to do Christmas Eve, right? Probably no matter what, you're going to do New Year's Eve. But there's no mandatory that you two ought not to decide together. Like, I shouldn't say, hey, company party's mandatory and you have to be prepared for it. It's more, hey, I would like to do a company party. We own the Ascend Counseling Center with a couple of partners, and we want to do a party for our people. In fact, my wife and I, Chris, we did this, and what we decided is to always do our company party for Christmas in November. And we try to do it before Thanksgiving sometime, and that gets it not out of the way because it's a nuisance, but more, it gives us time to really relax with our staff. They're not launched into the holiday fury and flurry. I mean, not fury, flurry, and we aren't either. And so we've had a lot of success doing that. And so that was something we decided together. Where maybe, what if I got stuck on, no, it's got to be in December, it's a Christmas party, and she was stuck on, but we got too many things to do, and so we just fight. And maybe I go to the company party and she goes to one of the school events, and that's tearing us apart, right? So the idea is that we mapped that out together, and we were conscious and intentional about it, and we put it in November, which was good for everybody. And I got to tell you, the staff, my 30 or 40 staff members, enjoy it as well with their spouses, because again, they get to relax and enjoy a company party that doesn't have a church party on Thursday, a company party on Friday, and then a work party on Saturday, which is, who wants that many parties in 1 week, right? And so choose a schedule to use together. Make a list of mandatories. What are the school events that you feel like are mandatory together? What are the extended family events that you're considering mandatory this year together? What are your personal, when are you going to do date night? What are the mandatories, okay? Make sure you both agree with what's mandatory. So this is, again, going to be on the board back here and on a little worksheet for you. What do you both agree are mandatory? And negotiate that. Talk with each other until you boil down to what you both really agree with, okay? Then I want you to take the mandatories and put them on this shared calendar. The only thing I want you to just step back and look at is, are you being realistic on what you can do in 168 hours? If in a week you got 168 hours, if in a week you've got 150 hours worth of stuff scheduled that doesn't include drive time, sleep time, food time, you're going to fail. And then you're just going to hate the holiday season. So you want to pull back on what's actually mandatory, maybe relook at it if you're too busy, and get rid of some things. I'll teach you how to do that in just a minute. Look at your 168-hour week. You got 4 or 5 of them for the holiday season. Some of you consider Thanksgiving part of the holiday season. We do, and so that we get maybe 7 weeks to work on together. And you want to schedule, you got your work that's mandatory per week. You got your sleep time that's mandatory. There's travel time in between work and activities and home and activities. It's mandatory. You can't beam yourself there. So many people that schedule put things right next to each other and don't put travel time. There's no space for travel or space for not getting out the door right on the dot. So make sure you have plenty of white space there to flex into. And once you have that realistic mandatory stuff on there, then you can start to build around it, okay? So the rituals of connection for your family, for your relationship, should be on there first. And then the rituals for your kids and you should be on there second. And then your rituals for everybody else should be third. And some of you are a little bit weirded out by me saying you and your spouse come first. So I would put your date nights and your couples council first on that mandatory list, and I wouldn't mess with it. I wouldn't let a work party get in the way. You might bump it around a little bit, but make sure it's there. Then put what you want to do with your kids second. Now, people say, well, why shouldn't we do our kids' stuff first? It's the holidays, it's for them. Well, one of the things I think the gift you give to your kids that you should give them yearly throughout the year, but definitely give them the gift of seeing you maintain a healthy romantic relationship. I have kids literally come into my office that do not want to get married ever because they don't like what it looks like. They don't like what they see their parents go through. They don't like the boredom. They don't like the dull marital commitments that are being kept. And I would like you to show them playful, juicy fun, okay? That way they don't come to my office all discouraged about the thought of having their own family. They look forward to it. So this list of mandatories should be you and your partner staying connected, having fun, then you and your partner and your kids connected, having fun, and then give yourselves to the rest of the world after that, okay? So that's the first step. Second, this one is what I wanted to teach you to help with the first one, the mandatories. Learn clear and direct no, okay? Somebody says, hey, do you guys want to get together on Saturday? First thing you say is, let me get with my spouse. I'll get back with you. You and your spouse decide, let's just say that that can't fit in. And so you say to your friend, no, we can't get together Saturday night. In fact, we want to maybe reconnect with you after the holiday season because the family stuff is just, it's pretty much taken the time, and we're going to do some social stuff with friends like we love you guys and we want to be with you guys and hang out with you guys, but let's do it in January. See, if you are clear, direct, and have a little bit of a goal plan, you won't lose a friend. If you say something like, hey, that's a possibility, we'll get back with you. And then in your mind, it's like, okay, I said it's a possibility, so I didn't commit. So if I avoid them, then we won't have to do that night out with them. And then we'll just, call them on January 4th and make something happen. See, that's what's offensive to people, is being vague. You being vague means they're not going to maybe plan something else because they're waiting for you. And that gets frustrating with them wondering, well, how long do we wait? Do we call them? We don't want to bug them. Clear and direct no, they'll leave you alone. They'll respect your time because they have to. You have a boundary there. And they know you're getting together in January, so they're fine. See, people can manage being disappointed if they know the plan. Clear and direct no. That is so hard for some of you. Clear and direct no. You're so afraid you're going to disappoint. But I guess I want to promise you that if you are clear and direct and then state a solution, everybody feels relaxed about that. No, I can't do it now, but I can do it then. And be clear on the now and the then. Everybody pulls back and relaxes about that. Maybe we can. Hey, that's a possibility. Hey, we certainly will try. None of that's safe. None of that feels good. And so learn the magic of a clear and direct no. Learn the magic of, no, I'm sorry, we can't. And let them feel the disappointment. Let them grow in the disappointment, but more importantly, let them go plan with somebody else that has time. And that doesn't mean you're not a good friend. What that means is you simply don't have time. And that's the reality. 168 hours will not extend. And if you keep shoving stuff in to the 168 hours, pretty soon you start to actually fail, not just say no and move things to another date. You actually start to fail. And that hurts way more than a clear and direct no. So here's your assignment, okay? You've written down what didn't work last year, so you're making plans to not repeat any of that. You're deciding together on what to say yes to that you know is coming. Like you know there's certain school things, there's certain extra family things. You know that there's so many things that you know are coming, and that list that didn't work last year is going to help you identify what not to repeat. It's going to help you know what to say no to. It's going to help you know what you should have said yes to that you didn't. It's going to help you remember where you were rushed. And so there's just some really cool things that you can do with a clear no. And so together, write down what you're going to say yes to. Decide what you're going to say no to and when you're going to push it forward and how you're going to do it and who's going to do it. Just again, I got to be clear. Remember, it's okay to disappoint people. So check what you're doing. Make sure it aligns with your holiday purpose. Check what you've said yes to. Make sure that it fits. And check what you said no to and make sure that it fits. So if I commit to a 3-day gambling trip with 2 of my buddies during the holiday season or any time really, that's not going to fit my family purpose, right? So I would say no to that. Going to the band concert, award party, and then maybe a date night, and that being well within the bounds of our schedule would work and so would serve our purpose. So we kind of know what to do. So if you keep in mind on this schedule and what you're saying yes and no to, putting you and your spouse as the first priority, have you thought about when to do date night? Have you thought about couples counsel, and have you thought about extra time together so that the holidays are actually fun for the relationship? Kids and family being your second priority, what events do they have at school? What are some of the things that you want to do? Do you want to help them shop? Do you want to help them like really enjoy some of the rituals? So you want to front load them on a family night? You know, there's just some things you ought to do to make sure your kids are having a really wonderful time with you and connecting with you. And then I always suggest a date time, a date afternoon with each of your kids. I know some of you have a lot of kids, and you might have to go out with the boys and then with the girls. There's some constellation of a go shopping for mom or go shopping for dad or go shopping for their friends, or just give them some of you, so you can see how important it is to be clear on your schedule. And you can also see how important it is that if you're going to connect as a family, you have to say no to the world on some stuff, okay? What are some of the PPI times that your kids might need during the holidays? PPI is just really a personal preparation interview that parents do with their kids. And just to like maybe help them set goals for the next year, help them with their rituals and connections. What do they want to say no to? What are you asking them to say no to so they can do more of the family stuff you're asking them to say yes to? Because they need to be involved in the planning as well. Some of them, as they age, get pretty busy as well, okay? So the rest of everybody gets all the remaining time, and so that's again what you're deciding together. Like, what does the work get? What does church get? What do your friends get? And have you made time for service and to plug in some service to people in need during the holiday season? It's important too. Those things do get the leftovers, though. Not you and your spouse. You and your spouse should never get the leftovers. Okay, so you need to slow everything down. That's probably the key to everything I'm talking to. Slow everything down. Be intentional about the schedule. So you've got a bunch of assignments there, and we're going to really take a look at number one. Remember that you're going to have a shared schedule with your spouse, and then shared with your kids. I didn't labor over that so much, but remember your teen kids deserve the same respect that you and your spouse do on their schedule, because they're planning their life because they have to learn how to do it to go to college. So they have to learn how to say yes to you and no to you too. They might say no to some of the rituals. So be really clear on what the mandatory rituals are. Like, we're going to do this as a family. And if you do that, they'll learn to do that with their schedule too. Second, learn the clear and direct no. And third, really slow down and make sure you stay connected. Okay, make sure you stay connected with your spouse first, kids second, and everybody else third. So as you do that, I'm going to give you one more assignment, and I don't want to make this an add-on to an already busy schedule. Maybe this is a January 4th or maybe it's a November 15th, but I challenge you to take a moment and plan out sometime 2023. Okay? 2023 is going to be your year. What is the purpose of that year? So, number one, what is the purpose of 2023 for you and your spouse? What do you want to focus on? Couples that are intentional about their unified couples focus and then their family focus that they talk with their kids about and get their kids buy-in do much better, and they don't feel like the years just fly by and they don't get better, they don't get more connected. So what is the purpose of 2023? Second assignment, what are your goals together and as individuals for 2023? And it might be fun to sit down New Year's Eve with your kids and give them a little worksheet and say, hey, what is your purpose for 2023? Here's the family purpose. What do you think? What's your purpose as individuals? And what are your goals as individuals for the year? You might have a son that says, I want to beat my mile record in track. And another one might say, I want to go on one date a week with girls in my school. And so they have goals and you have goals. So what are your goals? And you might look through the lens of your family goals, social goals, financial goals, educational goals, your physical goals, like what kind of exercise and what do you want to do for your body, and your spiritual goals. And my challenge to you is just get a little better in 2023. Don't look at changing the world. Just get a little better. Make the goals doable, make them achievable, make them things that motivate you, not overwhelm you. Have your family involved in this. Know your kids' goals. Know what your kids' stated purposes are for the year of 2023. Be intentional then with your schedule. Like look at what's important to your kids and what's important to you and your spouse and place it throughout the year. That might make next year easier because you've started the year with a general plan, okay? And then the rest of the world can fit in around your family instead of you always trying to fit your family around the rest of the world. And so the best part of all of this is to be intentional and mindful, and your relationship with your spouse comes first in intentionality. Relationship that you're building with your kids becomes second. And then the rest of the world is third. I keep getting asked, why don't we put our kids first? We're supposed to put them first. They're the helpless ones. They're the ones that need us. I don't think putting them second to you and your spouse is putting them last. I think it's teaching them that their future marital relationship will come first. It's teaching them that you're playful and fun with your spouse, so it looks fun to be a married person. And then I got to say this, some of you are so young and your families are so young that you don't understand this. I, at a deep level, now understand this. Your kids are going to leave and your spouse isn't. So that's the hope. See, the hope the kids launch. And I don't know about you guys, but I raised my kids to be independent and launch, and then I felt bad when they did. Kind of wanted them all to fail and stay home. Not really, but really. But they did launch, and now Chris and I are empty nesters, and so it would have been horrible if we didn't focus on our marriage throughout the years. If we focused on me going and making a living and her, being a mom to the kids, and then we tried to reconnect, 25 years later, it's lonely and it goes terribly. So putting yourself and your spouse first means that from the time your kids launch to the rest of your life, which is a lot of years, you got a lover there. You got someone there that you're connected to. You got someone there that you're already enjoying and looking forward to, and it'll soften the blow when your kids leave, and it'll also increase the okay, this is gonna be fun. We got a lot going for us, and now we just been handed a whole bunch of time. I remember the time Chris and I are in Las Vegas, and we stayed a little longer than we wanted, doing some shopping, and I think we bought a Jeep. I don't know, it took way too long. And we thought, yeah, we're just going to grab a room because they're cheap and stay the night. And we realized in that moment that there was nobody at home that cared. There was no kids living with us. We didn't have to check in. And it was a little bit of a weird feeling not having anyone that would even notice that we stayed the night in Vegas and then came home the next morning. And so what if you're not connected to your spouse? What if you don't even really like each other anymore? What if you're roommates? um, that wouldn't be a very fun time. You wouldn't have those moments of like, wow, it's just us, babe. And I want you to have that. So put your spouse first throughout your growing years, your raising your family years. Put your kids second, but that's still second's like gets a lot of your attention and time. You're teaching them how to put their spouses first, which is going to help the next generation. So it's all good. And then the rest of the world gets the leftovers, which you'll leave them some leftovers and it'll be okay. So as you're intentional, I want you to do this worksheet that we've pointed out. Share in the comments down below what worked, what didn't work. Give me some thoughts and feedback on what you enjoyed about this episode. And visit the Counseling Experience YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Matt, your relationship fitness coach, and Ascend Counseling and Wellness 435-688-1111. And we'll talk to you again.